The town square of Pinebrook was alive with festive cheer, its cobblestone paths blanketed by a fresh layer of snow that sparkled like diamonds under the winter sun. Everywhere you looked, the air buzzed with the sounds of laughter, music, and the clinking of mugs as people gathered to celebrate the annual winter festival. Children dashed through the streets, their faces flushed with excitement, while elders shared stories of festivals past, their eyes twinkling with nostalgia. Ella Forsythe stood at the entrance of her café, taking in the bustling scene. Her café, the Cozy Corner, was a cornerstone of Pinebrook, known far and wide for its legendary hot chocolate, a recipe handed down from her beloved grandmother. Today, the café was busier than ever, with locals and visitors alike eager to taste the comforting brew. Ella's heart swelled with pride, but beneath it lay a current of anxiety. This was her first winter festival without her grandmother, and the pressure to uphold the family legacy weighed heavily on her shoulders. "Ella, another batch of hot chocolate, please," called out Mrs. Thompson, a regular customer. Ella nodded, flashing a warm smile as she ducked back into the bustling café. In the kitchen, the air was thick with the rich scent of cocoa and spices. Ella moved with practiced efficiency, pouring milk into a large pot and stirring in her grandmother's secret blend of cocoa and spices. The recipe was a closely guarded family secret, and Ella had spent countless hours perfecting it, hoping to achieve the same magic her grandmother had. "Hey, sis. Need any help?" Lucy, Ella's younger sister, popped her head through the door. Her eyes sparkled with mischief and excitement, a stark contrast to Ella's more reserved demeanor. "Could you take these out to the front?" Ella handed her a tray laden with mugs of steaming hot chocolate. "And make sure to keep an eye on the stand outside. We're going to have a rush soon." Lucy nodded, taking the tray with a grin. "Got it. Don't worry, we'll manage. And remember, Grandma's watching over us." Ella smiled, feeling a bit of her anxiety melt away. Lucy's confidence was infectious, and she was grateful for her sister's support. Meanwhile, in another part of the town square, Tom Bennett was helping set up the makeshift ski slope for children. A former professional skier, Tom had returned to Pinebrook seeking peace and a simpler life after a career-ending injury. Today, he was volunteering to teach kids the basics of skiing, hoping to share his passion and expertise with the next generation. "All right, who's ready to hit the slopes?" Tom called out, his voice filled with enthusiasm. A group of children, bundled up in colorful winter gear, cheered in response, their faces alight with excitement. Tom smiled, his heart lifting at their joy. Guiding the kids through the basics, he moved with a natural grace, his love for the sport evident in every gesture. Though his movements were careful, cautious even, he was determined to focus on the present and the joy of teaching. As the sun began to set, the town's mayor took the stage in the center of the square, signaling the official start of the festival. Ella, now manning the hot chocolate stand outside her café, glanced over, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. The crowd gathered, their breaths visible in the crisp evening air, as the mayor's voice rang out. "Welcome, everyone, to the annual Winter Festival. This festival is a celebration of our community, our traditions, and the joy of the season. Let's make this year the best one yet." The crowd erupted into applause, the festive spirit palpable. Ella's gaze drifted across the square, landing on Tom, who was standing nearby with the children. Their eyes met briefly, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Ella felt a strange sense of connection, though she couldn't quite place it. As the festival activities began in earnest, Ella found herself swept up in the excitement. Her hot chocolate stand was a hit, with people lining up to get a taste of the famous brew. Tom, too, was busy, guiding children down the small slope, his laughter mingling with theirs. However, just as the festival was reaching its peak, the sky began to darken ominously. Dark clouds rolled in, and a sharp wind picked up, causing the festive lights to flicker. Ella glanced up, her heart sinking. "A snowstorm," she murmured, her anxiety returning. Tom noticed the change in weather as well. "All right, kids, let's head inside," he said, ushering the children toward the community hall. The festive atmosphere quickly turned to one of concern as the snow began to fall heavily, the wind howling through the town square. "Ella, we need to get everyone to safety," Lucy said, appearing by her side. Ella nodded, quickly packing up the hot chocolate stand. "Everyone, please head to the community hall," she called out, her voice cutting through the growing panic. "We'll be safe there." Tom joined her, helping to guide people through the snow. The storm intensified rapidly, the heavy snowfall making it difficult to see. But with Ella and Tom leading the way, the townsfolk managed to reach the community hall, where they huddled together, seeking warmth and safety. Inside, the atmosphere was tense but calm. Ella, ever the caregiver, began serving hot chocolate from her reserve, the comforting drink bringing a bit of warmth and cheer to the frightened townsfolk. Tom, meanwhile, took charge of organizing the space, ensuring everyone was comfortable and accounted for. As they settled in, the community hall buzzed with the sound of quiet conversations and the crackling of a few hastily lit candles. The close quarters led to unexpected interactions, and soon, Ella found herself sitting next to Tom, a cup of hot chocolate in hand. "Thank you for your help," she said, her voice soft. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Tom smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Just doing what I can. This town means a lot to me." Ella nodded, understanding the unspoken weight of his words. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the storm raging outside. "Your hot chocolate is amazing," Tom said after a while, breaking the silence. "It's like nothing I've ever tasted before." Ella felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "Thank you. It was my grandmother's recipe. I just hope I'm doing it justice." Tom looked at her, his gaze steady and reassuring. "You're doing more than justice. You're keeping her legacy alive, and that's something to be proud of." Ella smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her that had nothing to do with the hot chocolate. "Thank you, Tom. That means a lot." As the night wore on, the storm showed no signs of letting up. The power flickered and then went out completely, plunging the hall into darkness. There were a few gasps and murmurs of concern, but Tom quickly took charge, using his phone's flashlight to guide him as he found and distributed candles to light the hall. The warm, flickering light created an intimate atmosphere, and soon, the townsfolk began to relax, sharing stories and laughter despite the storm outside. Ella and Tom moved among them, offering comfort and reassurance. "Looks like we're in for a long night," Tom said, settling down next to Ella once more. "Yeah," Ella agreed, glancing around at the gathered townsfolk. "But we're together, and that's what matters." Tom nodded, his eyes reflecting the candlelight. Together. The storm raged on outside, but inside the community hall, there was a sense of unity and resilience. Ella and Tom, along with the rest of the town, found strength in each other, their bonds growing stronger with each passing moment. And as the night deepened, so did the sense of connection and hope, setting the stage for the challenges and triumphs yet to come. The community hall was engulfed in darkness, the only light coming from the flickering candles scattered around the room. The howling wind outside and the soft murmur of voices inside created an atmosphere of uncertainty and closeness. People huddled together, sharing blankets and stories as they waited out the storm. Tom moved through the hall, distributing more candles and making sure everyone was comfortable. He could see the anxiety etched on their faces, but there was also a sense of camaraderie that brought a small smile to his lips. He had missed this, the feeling of being part of a community. Ella, too, was making her rounds, offering refills of hot chocolate and comforting words to anyone who needed them. Her presence was like a calming balm, and she could feel the tension easing as people warmed to the simple pleasure of her grandmother's famous recipe. "Here you go, Mrs. Jenkins," Ella said, handing a steaming mug to the elderly woman who had been her grandmother's best friend. "It's the last batch for tonight, but I'll make more in the morning." Mrs. Jenkins took the mug with a grateful smile. "Thank you, dear. Your grandmother would be so proud of you." Ella's heart swelled at the words, but there was still a nagging doubt in her mind. "I hope so," she said softly. "I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right." Mrs. Jenkins patted her hand. You're doing wonderfully, Ella. Don't doubt yourself. As Ella moved to the next group, she saw Tom helping to light more candles. Their eyes met across the room, and she felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the hot chocolate. She made her way over to him, feeling the need for a friendly face. Need any help? She asked, trying to keep her voice light. Tom smiled, the candlelight dancing in his eyes. I think we're almost set. How are you holding up? Ella sighed, a mix of exhaustion and relief. It's been a long day, but we're managing. The storm caught us all by surprise. Tom nodded, his expression turning serious. It did, but we'll get through it. This town has seen worse. They fell into a comfortable silence, working side by side to ensure everyone had what they needed. The simple act of lighting candles and arranging blankets felt like a balm to the chaos outside. Thank you for helping, Tom, Ella said after a while. I don't know what we would have done without you. Tom shrugged modestly. Just doing my part. This town means a lot to me, and so do the people in it. Ella looked at him, feeling a connection that went beyond mere gratitude. I feel the same way. My grandmother loved this town, and I want to continue her legacy. But sometimes, it's hard to know if I'm making the right choices. Tom turned to face her, his gaze steady and reassuring. Ella, you're doing an amazing job. Your grandmother's legacy lives on through you, and you're adding your own unique touch to it. Don't doubt yourself. Ella smiled, feeling the weight of her doubts lift slightly. Thank you, Tom. That means a lot. As they continued their tasks, the sound of Mr. Jenkins' voice drew their attention. The town historian had gathered a small group around him, and his voice, though soft, carried a sense of authority and warmth. Come closer, everyone, Mr. Jenkins called out, his eyes twinkling in the candlelight. I have a story to share, one that I think will remind us all of the strength and resilience of our community. People began to gather, forming a tight circle around Mr. Jenkins. Ella and Tom joined them, settling down to listen. The flickering candlelight cast a warm glow over the room, and the atmosphere shifted from one of tension to intimate connection. Mr. Jenkins began to speak, his voice weaving a tapestry of the past. He told tales of previous winter festivals, of the challenges and triumphs the town had faced over the years. Each story was a reminder of the community's spirit and the bonds that held them together. As he spoke, a pair of curious children, Sophie and Max, began to explore the hall. Their youthful energy was a stark contrast to the solemnity of the stories, and their laughter brought smiles to the faces around them. Suddenly, Sophie let out a small gasp. Look, Max. I think I found something. The children's discovery drew everyone's attention. Tom and Ella exchanged curious glances and made their way over to where the children were gathered. What did you find? Tom asked, kneeling down to their level. Sophie pointed to a loose panel in the wall. We were playing, and I accidentally bumped into this. It moved. Tom carefully pried the panel open, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Inside were old, ornate holiday decorations and a dust-covered diary. Wow, Ella breathed, reaching in to carefully lift out the items. These must be really old. Mr. Jenkins joined them, his eyes widening in surprise. I've heard rumors of hidden treasures in this hall, but I never thought we'd actually find something. Tom handed the diary to Mr. Jenkins. Looks like we've uncovered a piece of history. Mr. Jenkins opened the diary, the brittle pages crackling softly. These entries are from the town's founding families. They talk about the first winter festivals and the traditions that started it all. The room fell silent as Mr. Jenkins began to read aloud. The diary entries spoke of resilience and unity, of a community that came together in times of hardship. The words resonated deeply, reflecting the very spirit that had brought them all together tonight. As Mr. Jenkins read, Ella and Tom shared a look of awe and respect. The discovery of the hidden compartment and the diary was more than just a historical find, it was a reminder of the strength and continuity of their community. We should display these, Ella suggested, her voice filled with excitement. They're a part of our heritage. Tom nodded in agreement. Absolutely. It's important to remember where we came from and how far we've come. The townsfolk murmured in agreement, their spirits lifted by the newfound connection to their past. As the evening wore on, the stories from the diary and the warmth of shared memories created a sense of unity and hope. Eventually, the storm began to ease, and the power flickered back on, filling the hall with light. There was a collective cheer, and the atmosphere shifted once again to one of relief and celebration. "We made it through," Tom said, looking around at the smiling faces. "Together." Ella nodded, her heart full. "Together." As the night drew to a close, Ella and Tom found themselves standing side by side, watching as the townsfolk began to prepare for the next day. The storm had brought them closer, and the shared experience had strengthened their resolve. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us," Tom said, his tone light but determined. Ella smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Yes, we do. But we'll face it together." Tom glanced at her, his expression softening. "I'm glad I came back to Pinebrook. It feels like home." Ella met his gaze, her heart swelling with warmth. "Welcome home, Tom." As they stood together, the future seemed a little brighter, the bonds of community and friendship stronger than ever. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength and resilience, setting the stage for new beginnings and a deeper connection to their heritage. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Pinebrook. The storm had left a pristine blanket of snow, transforming the town into a picturesque winter wonderland. As the community hall doors opened, the townsfolk stepped out into the crisp, clear air, their breath visible in the morning chill. Ella stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath and letting the fresh air fill her lungs. The storm had passed, and with it came a sense of renewal and possibility. She glanced around, seeing the smiles and hearing the laughter of the townspeople, and felt a surge of hope and determination. Tom joined her, his eyes scanning the transformed landscape. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Ella nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "It really is. It's like a new beginning." Tom looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "I think we should make the most of it. Let's extend the festival for one more day. The kids would love it." Ella's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. I'll set up the hot chocolate stand again. And maybe I can try a new recipe I've been working on." Tom grinned. "Perfect. I'll organize a snow sculpture contest for the kids. It'll be a great way to end the festival on a high note." The townsfolk quickly rallied around the idea, and soon, the town square was buzzing with activity once more. Children ran to gather snow for their sculptures, while others helped set up tables and decorations. The air was filled with the sound of cheerful chatter and the occasional burst of laughter. Ella returned to her café, her mind racing with ideas. She had found a small jar of spices in the hidden compartment the night before, and she was eager to experiment with them in her hot chocolate. As she prepared the new batch, she felt a sense of connection to her grandmother, whose legacy she was determined to honor. "Hey, Ella," Lucy called from the front of the café. "The stand is ready. Are you coming?" Ella smiled, pouring the hot chocolate into a large thermos. "I'm on my way. Let's make this the best day of the festival." As she set up her stand in the town square, the first customers began to arrive. Ella's heart pounded with anticipation as she served the new blend, watching their reactions closely. "This is amazing, Ella," Mrs. Thompson exclaimed, her eyes wide with delight. "What's in it?" Ella's face lit up with pride. "Just a little something special I found last night. I'm glad you like it." Word of Ella's new recipe spread quickly, and soon, people were lining up to try it. Each compliment and smile boosted her confidence, reaffirming her ability to carry on her grandmother's legacy while adding her own unique touch. Meanwhile, Tom was busy organizing the snow sculpture contest. The children's laughter echoed through the square as they sculpted everything from snowmen to elaborate castles. Tom moved among them, offering tips and encouragement, his own passion for skiing and winter activities rekindled by their enthusiasm. "Great job, Max!" Tom called out, watching as the young boy put the finishing touches on his snow dragon. "That looks fantastic." Max beamed, his cheeks rosy from the cold. "Thanks, Tom. This is so much fun." Tom felt a warmth in his heart that had nothing to do with the weather. Seeing the joy on the children's faces reminded him of why he loved skiing and winter sports in the first place. It wasn't just about the competition or the adrenaline, it was about the simple joy of being in the snow and sharing that joy with others. As the day progressed, the festival reached new heights of excitement. The snow sculpture contest was a resounding success, with each child proudly showing off their creations. The townsfolk admired the sculptures, applauding the creativity and effort of the young artists. In the center of the square, Ella's hot chocolate stand was still drawing a crowd. The new recipe had been an overwhelming hit, and Ella found herself busier than ever. She took a moment to look around, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. The festival had brought the community together in a way she hadn't seen in years, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Tom approached her stand, a grin on his face. "I think you've outdone yourself, Ella. This hot chocolate is incredible." Ella blushed, her smile bright. "Thank you, Tom. It's been a crazy couple of days, but I'm so glad everything